very excited to welcome in new LSU, well, new, old, and new again LSU general manager Austin Thomas to the program. Austin, what's going on, man? It's been a couple of years since we've done radio together.
T-Bob, how you doing, man? I appreciate you having me on this morning. I hear you got some heavy hitters on this hour. I don't know that I belong in this group, but nonetheless, I'm humbled and honored to be part of the show this morning.
Yeah, you and Moffat is great. Now, I remember a couple of years ago when I had you on, I was a younger, more unrefined radio host, straight out of Baton Rouge, out of New Orleans, just came to Baton Rouge, and I think I made a joke about like paying players and stuff. And yeah, look, just know, Austin, we've here on Off the Bench, it's gotten better in the interim, right? I understand where we got to be more careful what jokes we have to avoid and whatnot. And so, right, that growth has taken place over 2 years. And that's what I want to ask you about, is that you've been gone now for a couple of years. And I wonder, what has life been like for you these last couple of years? And like, what pulled you back here to Baton Rouge?
Oh, man, T-Bob, it's been a great experience. Being at LSU for 5 years before coming back was great. And, you kind of, when you have an opportunity to go different places and learn and take ideas and bring them back to a place like LSU that's so special, and my family and I have such an affinity for, I think that's something that's really attractive. And, when we came here, we had no idea, my wife and I, what this place would mean to us, how deeply rooted we would be in this community. And so having an affinity for that and really watching LSU from afar for the last couple of years, yet at the same time, like you said, going and growing and learning and having kind of an open mind and, always being committed to learning and growing was important as well. And so I've been able to be around some amazing people, some talented people at other places. And, what you do is you take that and things you like and you bring them back. And when Coach O called me, I think it was Christmas Eve,
wow.
and asked if I was interested in coming back to LSU. I told him that I would walk here. I love Coach O. He's like my second father. And I think that, it's been great and to take the things that I've learned and bring them back and infuse that into his vision is really important, because I think those are the kind of things that keep us growing and progressing and moving to the forefront of college football, which is where we want to stay.
Yeah. And so you mentioned that relationship with Ogeron, Austin. I think it's one that's pretty fascinating because I think it was back in 2016 when you were named general manager. And I think it was you were the first general manager in SEC history. Do you ever think back to that? Like, what does that mean to you to have your name being applied, for you to be the first to ever do it?
T-Bob, it's special. It's humbling. It's an honor. I think it has a lot more to do with others than it does me and the people that have helped me get to this point. Coach O being a major piece in that. I think it takes humility, trust, and transparency for a guy like Coach O to have accomplished the things that he's accomplished in his career. And then in 2016, have the understanding that, hey, I know what your career goals are. I know what we need at LSU, and there's an opportunity for a role here. And so to put down, the pride and the ego and have such humility to say, hey, look, I want to name you the general manager. It's humbling to think back on. It was an amazing opportunity. And again, the reflection, when I reflect back on that time, it's very little to do with me and how that happened. It's more so I connect the dots with a Frank Wilson, with a Monty Kiffin, with a Les Miles, everybody that's given me the opportunity along the way to be where I am. And so that's what means the most to me when I think about that opportunity and being the first in the SEC.
And so everybody that you just mentioned, like you said, it kind of led you to where you are. And now where you are is here in 2021. You are LSU's general manager once again. This is it sounds funny, right? Because this is a question that seems pretty simple, but I think it's actually one that a lot of college football fans would be asking, myself included, which is, in the college football game, what does a general manager actually do, right? Like, what is your role within the larger organization? What do you view as where you have impact?
Sure. I think, T-Bob, as we progress through college football, right, in the next 5 years, you kind of look at the NFL, and I think this is the way that it's going to continue to go. And so I'm setting this up here. It says, you know, I think that this is really, really an important role because college football has gotten so big and staffs and organizations have become so big. It's hard for one person to manage. And I think the key is that, these aren't really, in my opinion, for who I am, I don't view this as a power position. It's an organizational position, right? And so Coach O is the head coach. And I think different than the NFL is I work for Coach O, right? And whereas sometimes there's the misnomer for some college football coaches that it's like the NFL in structure in that, where the GM and then there's the head coach. It's the complete opposite in college. And so I think as you see more younger coaches with vision start to come through the ranks, they're going to kind of understand it. Dave Aranda is a great example last year when I was at Baylor, right? And so for me personally, T-Bob, my job is to work hand in hand with Coach O, with our administration to make sure that, our staff and our organization that we're running as smoothly as and efficiently as we possibly can on a daily basis, right? That's all encompassing, whether that's doing coaches contracts, whether that's, taking our support staff and finding roles for them that, provides not only growth and fulfillment for them, but the best for LSU as an organization as well. Whether that's being involved in recruiting, whether that's being involved in daily operations, it truly is, in my mind, very much so like a general manager in the NFL with the reversal of, I report directly to the head coach, but work day to day with him to ensure that we're providing the best for not only our, student athletes, but the entire organization, LSU, the state of Louisiana, and the great people of this state as well.
And okay, so it sounds like there's a million different directions in that we could take this next. I did have a listener earlier who was kind of wondering about Russ Callaway and the kind of rest of the shadow staff right now.
Yeah.
Kind of what's your relationship there, and what does that staff currently look like right now?
Yeah, we're working through the final pieces of getting our coaches in place here, as I know that has been announced. And so we're not completely there yet, but we're on the verge of having it all locked down and done. And then, there are some guys that we want to keep here and guys that are talented and Russ included that have had other opportunity that you fight to keep because they make LSU better as an organization. And so, we're working through those things right now, T-Bob, and again, trying to give our organization the most potential possible to have success. And that comes through, investing in our players, growing as people, growing as learners. And I think when we're better people, we have more to give, right? And when we can work on ourselves and when we can get the best people possible in this organization, I think that translates into our players and our organization, and in turn drives results on the field.
Yeah, and it's interesting to hear this kind of this kind of philosophical approach that you have right now, right? Like you said, like if you do these right things, then the results will come on the field. It's in line with a couple of other things from this offseason, whether it's Jake Peets coming in and talking about, look, it's not about football now, it's about establishing trust. Football comes later. Well, philosophically, it looks like LSU said, look, we need to make a change as a staff. We're a bit too old. A youth revolution is kind of taking place now. We talked about it this morning. A lot of young hires, especially relative to the people that are replacing on this LSU staff. As someone who's just joined as well right now, what are your thoughts on the direction philosophically that LSU has taken with their coaches this offseason?
Sure. I think, T-Bob, as you go through, I think there's some merit to that. I wouldn't say that that's totally, the case. I think for us was to be methodical and thorough in our process and hire the best people that were available that we thought they could come in here and be great for LSU and help us continue to have success and sustain that success. But I think, as you go and you grow and you see the younger generation of football coaches, right? When you talk about spread, when you talk about these multiple defensive, packages that people are putting on the field, it's what they grew up knowing, right? Mm-hmm. And so it's what people like me grew up knowing as opposed to, the old standard pro style, I formation type things that may be, another generation. And so that's not a knock on any older coach, but I think the more that you learn and you grow up and say, all right, this is what I am comfortable with because this is what I have faced. I think that it becomes more innovative. And I think the older you are, it's no different than anything in any walk of life, in my opinion. The older you are, the harder it is to learn something new. You revert back to what you have done previously, maybe some things that have had success for you in the past. And I think it's a lot harder to change who you are. And so to me, that is why I think you're seeing the infusion of young talent and young coaches in this organization, if that makes sense.
It definitely makes sense. We're talking to new LSU general manager Austin Thomas from the Jim's Firearms Hotline. Austin, last one here, because I know that this was something that when you were here previously, a lot of people said you had a big impact on, which was this idea of like roster management, right? And I want your theory on how you manage a college football roster and how you avoid situations like the one LSU is currently, well, maybe not currently getting everybody returning, but look, the offensive line, right? It's a bit light if you look at recruiting classes projected out a couple years. What's your theory on roster management?
So, T-Bob, I think that you have to have, kind of a 3-year vision. You've got to know what you have, you've got to know what you need. And so I think every year, every time you evaluate what you're doing, it's got to be a 3-year plan. And so there are so many factors that go into roster management. So it's an inexact science, to say the least, right? When you have a lot of things going on, you have injuries, you have guys that may not pan out, you may have guys that have a character issue, and then we have things, this thing called the transfer portal now, right? Mm-hmm. Where guys are, if they're not happy, if they're not playing, they can hop in that. And that's, the players now hold a lot more, I don't want to use the word power, but for lack of a better word, a lot more power or control into college football than previously. And so that's not necessarily a bad thing, in my opinion. I think that, that has been needed to come for some time, players be able to make their own decisions. But when you add all those things up, right, you can get in a situation pretty quick where you may have had numbers at a position. You may lack some talent, and all of a sudden you lose 3 or 4 guys like that, and you're really, really thin at a position. And so I think you have to be very keen and very aware of not only the numbers on your roster, but you have to know the talent too, right? Because bodies without talent is really just a waste. And so you have to dig deeper than what your target number is. And then at times it's kind of a double-edged sword, T-Bob, because I mentioned the transfer portal and guys transferring out. At the same time, you have an opportunity to identify some immediate needs, right, that you may have or some holes to fill, and go out and use the transfer portal in your favor. So I think, at times it gets knocked a lot, this whole transfer portal idea, but there are some positives to it as well. And it's all about using it the right way and figuring out what your strengths are and what your needs are, and then attacking those and kind of bridging that gap until you can, recruit back to a solid number or a solid talent level, whatever that may be. And I think it's truly a balancing act, but the ones that have vision are able to do it really, really well and manage that process. So that's kind of my 2 cents.
Austin. Well, it sounds like to me, you got that vision, man. You got me. And I know that everybody listening, very excited right now. Austin Thomas, new LSU general manager. We will definitely be talking to you again. Thank you so much for coming on, and welcome back to the LSU fold. I know a lot of people were very bummed to see you leave back in the day. Very happy to see you back.
Yes, sir. I appreciate you, T-Bob, and looking forward to this relationship with you. And if there's anything that you guys need, let me know. But thankful and blessed to be here and thankful for this show. So thanks for the support.
All right, AT, take it easy, man. Austin Thomas. Okay, when we get back, we got Coach Tommy Moffitt getting these boys ready during this spring. We'll talk to Coach Moffitt about what's going on right now here on Off the Bench, 104.5, 100.3, 94.7 ESPN.